Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke in the studio. I have a fit-looking Ofonopondo. Clearly, he's been on the road.
And is by our standard
accessible.
It's not easy
it's
to
upmarket.
No, it's not easy to have 40 acres in one place, but surprisingly, no LC leader, no extension worker. Even when you call, you have to beg and
fuel their bike for them to come.
And sometimes even drive to the district headquarters to
Pondo's chairs.
Yes. But first and foremost, I'm a citizen who has every right to raise my concern.
I just made the point that you're seated in your Pondo's chair.
The Republic of Uganda. First, citizen first.
Yes.
Then the other things follow.
Okay.
Well, his boss is in the habit of rejecting resignations. So
actually, that's right.
Yeah, he might be still here with us for a while. Yeah.
Who?
You.
I haven't resigned.
No, since your boss is in the habit of rejecting resignations, then maybe your words are not necessarily damning.
But most welcome to Gang, Malcolm Hamizo.
Thank you, Oscar.
Very smart today. You're going to a wedding.
I don't know if today means other days.
No, on a Saturday.
On a Saturday.
You are exceptionally smart.
Yes. My brother's wedding a little later today. So I thought I would dress the part.
Yeah. I hope you don't overshine.
You should see the groom.
So we're waiting for Abdu Katontu, Mr. Moses Pierhang, and Marianne Kasule Nafka. And before we go to the topics of the day, you mentioned about the president rejecting a resignation of a judge. You're in that field.
Yes.
Why would people oppose the president's rejection of a judge who's resigning? Just as by the way.
I think the simplest way to put it is that the work that judges do or justices of the Supreme Court do is not slave labor. And so they can enter and exit at will just like the rest of us. Yes, there are processes, there are procedures, but to force someone to stay in office is akin to bondage. They have their rights as a citizen, just like Ofono Pondo has put it. And if they feel that the tools they are being given, the position they are in, the circumstances that they have been brought to, they are unable to discharge their duty, then they have a right to resign. That is constitutional. It is not a resignation if it is accepted.
No, but Mpamizo, you're a lawyer. Maybe you have been away gallivanting the USA.
He hasn't been banned yet.
He hasn't been. He's still eligible for visas. But I think in the circumstances of Justice Kisache, my understanding is that a commission of inquiry was instituted, or is supposed to be instituted, to investigate her dispute with the Chief Justice, or you can even say her misconduct if you take the Chief Justice's side. And therefore, her resignation, I think, was an attempt to jump.
I don't see how that is, because the process of investigation isn't affected. How many times do they interdict officers so they are on the sidelines and investigations happen? That happens all the time. So what she's saying is, let me step away. Let the investigation happen.
No,
I don't think she's trying to stay away from consequences. If you want to choose to hold her emoluments until the end of the investigation, that's okay. But to reject a resignation because it appears to be
I am surprised, because if you say that you are being investigated, there's a commission of inquiry, and then you resign, then what would be the purpose for the inquiry in your conduct as an officer of government? So I think.
So the purpose of her staying there is so that she can eventually be found guilty and reprimanded.
If I resign and go away, for example, why then hold me to the commission of inquiry? As in what capacity will you be? In the capacity of having held that office. It's not about what you're doing beyond. It's not about what you're doing at the time. It's what happens after. So again, like I said, there are several ways in which, if she's guilty and you can have her arrested for a crime she has committed, do so. If there are emoluments you can hold, do so. But you cannot stop the Supreme Court justice from resigning simply because you want to keep her there and then be the one to fire her, which is what it clearly looks like. Oscar, I would like to pass it back to you so you can give it to Marianne. And
we can move on. I'm going to send an article written by Professor, the educator, Professor Oroka, on the matter. It says President Museveni can't block Justice Kisache's resignation, and he said the only correct sentence in that letter was that I cannot block your wishes, I cannot obstruct your wishes, and that the rest was unconstitutional. But you and Namfi can continue that discussion, and is showing that it can be very well disputed. Your opinion can be disputed. You're most welcome to Gang, Namfi.
In law, everything is disputable.
It's disputable. Okay. Where are we?
Namfi is disorganizing me.
Well, she hasn't seen you in a while. So, Ofonopondo,
yes,
the government presented, I don't know if you are following, a response after the speaker gave him a deadline. You have to give a statement on the missing 18. The government went ahead and gave a statement, but the opposition this very week, on Tuesday, I think, gave a scathing response, including our own Abdul, and I don't know where he is, denouncing the government statement on missing persons, called it insensitive and mocking towards bereaved families. Do you agree with the LOP, leader of opposition?
First of all, that's what you would expect of any serious leader of opposition, to punch holes on a report like this one, especially if you look at the protracted back and forth.
Yeah, how long it took.
How long it has taken the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which is responsible to account for accusations, whether they are false or accurate, of missing persons or mistreatment or torture. The government has a responsibility and obligation to make sure that we make transparent and convincing accountability. Now, 2.5 years by any standard is unacceptable. It should be unacceptable, especially for the NRM that stands on building a better democracy, the better governance. We are the ones who committed ourselves to that as NRM long ago.
You went to the bush and killed people claiming that is what you are going to do.
You shouldn't be distracted. Now, prepare your time.
Yeah. So, the leader of opposition and everybody else, including the people in NRM, we should be feeling a little embarrassed that Ugandans are beginning to compare us to Idi Amin, to Obote, the two governments of Obote. Certainly, if you have a conscience, we should feel embarrassed. And feel embarrassed that we are unable to account convincingly. So, the law is right to try and punch holes. For example, if you are the Minister of Internal Affairs and you come on the floor of Parliament and you say you can't effectively search your own record, your data bank, I mean, there's no other explanation. I've said this on another show, that to me it is marks negligence, incompetence, or both. How can the Ministry of Internal Affairs fail to trace a police vehicle? I mean, it doesn't add up. Even if that police vehicle has been written off, I would expect that you come on the flap of the house and say that vehicle had an accident and was written off. And it was, yes, we have that number, but it was not involved. But you don't say, we are still trying to trace that vehicle. I mean,
that's kind of basic work.
It should
doesn't
be
include politics or anything.
There's a sense in which I think some of our colleagues, particularly in the front bench of government, don't take their assignment seriously. That's the best I can really say. So, for Mpuga to punch holes, that is his job. That's his job. But when he's punching holes and there's validity in what he's raising, for example, I hadn't read the statement. I was just passing through it this morning. In one case of Damlida, where our government statement is saying they searched and he was not in the NERA data bank. Mpuga is now saying he has actually, in his rebuttal, he has put the NIN of Damlida. Now, if Mpuga can find the NIN of Damlida and his voter location slip, how come that we, the government, the executive, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which presides over NERA, could not find the NIN of this person? That means the person the minister assigned to look for the data of Damlida didn't do a good job. And I think the minister should go back and hold them accountable for doing a shadow work, but also misleading him, and consequently him misleading the entire country. I think I've not looked through the entire battle, but it's the job of the law to try and discredit. As I have said before, even if General Muhoozi had made a good report, if it is the political strategy of the opposition to keep the issue of human rights abuse circulating until, for example, 2026, it is their valid point if that's what they want to hold you. So it should be with the executive that should not make them succeed. But if our work is clumsy, then we have ourselves to blame, in my view. I briefly watched Honorable Abu Katuntu when he was making a passionate plea. I have said again, NRM, we should be feeling embarrassed that we are being compared. I mean, how can you have somebody being arrested and then dumped at Kireka, and the police is unable to say no? If you have heard somebody that the media has been saying is lost, you, the person who's bringing him to the police, you must enter your record there. But the police can't say some unknown person dropped a suspect at the police station, and that means the police is that there are people or even agencies of government that are above the law, and police cannot hold them accountable. I assuming a UPDF major brought a suspect to the police station, I expect the police officer at the station to detain that major until he has accounted for the suspects we have brought with evident torture marks. I expect the police to subject the suspect to medical examination to rule out any foul play. That's what we expect under the rule of law, under the NRM. But if we are failing even on those basic things, I've written before that Ugandans will be right to vote with their feet.
Abdu, welcome to Gang, Honorable Abdu Katonto. You know, you are next commissioner as chairman of the conference. These shots you are unleashing every Saturday.
So when we're talking of
You forget
frugality,
that most of the year he's been traveling around the world.
And
frugality in the government, these are the people spending our money.
But this is from Owino. And if you want a genuine shirt, a brand shirt, you go to Owino, you'll have them. Only that will be second hand.
Abdu, do you even
So,
know where window?
Abdu, on to senior lawyer Abdu Katonto. You were shining on the back benches this week with your appeal for government to do something. Do you sense, even from Pondo's diatribe there, that there's some impunity in all this?
First of all, I was really speaking from my heart, really. As I said this week, this sort of conversation we are having should not really be in the House. That this country is still talking about people missing, people being detained without trial. As my brother, I call him so, or knows, my own father was detained by Idi Amin in Mutukula for over a year. There were 660 of them. After 12 months, only 46 survived. The rest were murdered, the so-called Mutukula massacres. So it's something which my family has gone through. And after what this country has gone through, regime after regime, and all of them have collapsed because of one reason: human rights. I don't think when the NRA was capturing power in 1986, people thought they would run a better economy. These ragtag chaps and so on. And nobody even knew. They just took a gamble about changing a regime, but it was about human rights. Oscar, it is true my dad served the Obote regime, both at a very senior level. But in 1971, when Amin overthrew Obote, Amin was very popular, extremely popular, at least for a year. It is until the issues of human rights started coming and the impunity which O is talking about, that the entire country lost faith in the regime, and regime after regime have collapsed. What distinguishes us, when I say us, I mean civilized communities, societies, from the opposite, is because we follow the law. But once you allow what they call the rule of the jungle, what country are we living or bequeathing to our children? And that's the point. How do you feel? And I was talking to my colleagues in the House, those who thought it was time to defend this. I was like, how do you feel when there is a woman there still crying for her husband missing, when there is a child there looking for the father? Then you go back and you are busy running into the arms of your children, and you don't mind about other people's children who are missing. So it's a very unfortunate, and it's very ugly. Nobody should be proud of it. No Ugandan should be proud that there is a Ugandan now missing, a Ugandan being tortured, a Ugandan being held beyond what the Constitution demands. If government thinks that 48 hours as set out by the Constitution is too short, let them come and bring an amendment so that they hold people lawfully. I mean, Oscar, somebody needs to trace the history of terror. Terrorism is actually a tool for the weak. who cannot confront organized society, so they resort to unorthodox way of fighting. But we cannot have a government behaving illegally, a government, murdering your own people, a government detaining your own people, and you are proud of it. So officers make mistakes because there are many. Sometimes supervision is minimal or is not there. But as a government, you need to stand firm and say, this is not a policy of government. And if an officer becomes errant, then you need to deal with that officer very firmly and transparently. Then people have faith within the security system. There's this thing which goes on, the cowboy-like style of arresting people. The drones. You run around, you are dressed like Moses Biaruhanga here. Oh.
You mean the people in the drones are smarter dressed?
Those who are arrested.
Moses is very smart.
Yeah, Moses. Yeah. I was talking about another Moses, not Moses Biaruhanga here. Okay. So, I mean, it's terrible. You can't distinguish between a thug and a police or a security officer. Or even if you're a security officer, do you have to behave like a thug when you're executing your lawful duties? So these are legitimate demands. The opposition has a big point, and government should come clean on this and say, look, yes, it may be true, or it is true that these officers have done what is not required, or what they're not supposed to do under the law, but we've dealt with them. And as day follows night, Oscar, as day follows night, there will be time for accountability. And that's the point I was saying, that even those people who committed crime in the 60s, in 1986, we put up the Just Ordere Commission to look into abuses of human rights of all those regimes. So our colleagues who are, especially at command level, they should be able to act firmly on their officers who are abusing human rights, and then the political leadership should come up clearly. You see, you make a point that these people, some of my colleagues are acting clumsily. No, it's that it's very difficult to defend some of these things. And once you try to put on a straight face, you look clumsy. If you tell a lie, and you know that first of all it's a lie, and the person you are telling knows it is a lie, you don't look good. And this exactly.
Was looking not very bright.
No, by the way, to me, General handled it a little bit different. It could have been worse. I can tell you.
Yeah,
he
did not come off looking very brilliant.
Mark my words, it could have been worse. I wish it was the right honorable Naband.
What's the problem today?
You're most welcome to Gang. Moses Biaruhanga, most welcome to Gang, Senior Presidential Advisor. So Malcolm, as I was coming into radio this morning, PSFU was on the morning show, and the moderator asked the gentleman that how many complaints are necessary for action to be taken, and the gentleman, I think he was also, I said, even one. So this would apply to these missing persons as well. Even one, it should be a crisis, but to have 18.
And I think that's a very fantastic point to start with, because we
just say
yes, or
you see, even for somebody to suspect and accuse NRM government falsely, it means there's something we are not doing right. Even to be accused falsely,
you would give a response.
We should be able
to put it right.
Yeah. Actually demonstrate.
But is there anybody who believes in this country that there are no people who have disappeared?
Moses.
Is there anybody honestly who believes that there are people who are missing?
You think Moses has ever seen a drone?
No, Moses, don't put Moses in the corner.
No, has he seen a drone? So, because he doesn't even watch news. Malcolm, the microphone was yours.
Yes. I think that we should be alarmed when even one person is missing or has disappeared. I think for a 2.5 year period, the government has played around with the idea that this issue can just go away. It will not stand the test of time, and whereas or might suspect that it is being politicized now into 2026 and all, I think that doesn't take away the facts. And the facts are that people are missing. The facts are that the government has, even in this particular statement, there was a lot of flattery to deceive in there that they're actually taking it seriously. There was ample evidence in that report that it is an attempt to, again, not even take responsibility, because not even because it is true, because like O says, because it is suspected to be true, a government ought to check itself. Oscar, I was one of the few dissenting maybe voices around the Human Rights Enforcement Act. And one of the issues that I had was because, yes, it took responsibility for human rights violations to individual officers. But it then, in the same breath, takes away the responsibility from government to ensure that its officers are acting responsibly. So it doesn't do that in expressly, but by shifting and saying you point the finger at the individual.
No, it's among others.
But the government, and even before that, the government was already not taking its place in terms of holding itself accountable. How then does it do so when you're giving it an out by saying the errant officer is right there? Let them be the ones to be charged with or held accountable. Max, it's not one or the other. I'm just expressing how challenging it then becomes for the government or for individuals to be able to hold the government accountable for the actions of its officers when the government has the option, has the out of pointing fingers. So my point is that the government needs to take greater responsibility for ensuring that its officers are actually doing the right thing. That's where it should start from. The discussion about who has disappeared or not needs to be taken seriously, but that will only be taken seriously when even the officers themselves, Honorable Abdu here has talked about the drones. The drones have been legitimized by government officials. Police talks about the drones like they are commonplace, like that's how we do some of our operations. Don't question that. Or here talks about some of the suspects that some agencies are above the law. Your suspicion has evidence to back it up. It is not a suspicion. It's not a suspicion anymore. It is actually confirmed that there are certain institutions that act as if they are above the law, outside the law, and police has been either crippled and or infiltrated so badly by the people who do this that it cannot act. And all of these things are interconnected. When you militarize the police and the military are the ones who are with the drones, then how do you have a military officer in the police then hold a fellow military officer accountable on the other side? It really does smell. And I'll just tie off with this, that whereas both sides may color outside the lines in some way, you have the opposition maybe trying to politicize, and that is, like Oko says, what they are supposed to do. You have the government trying to be defensive. I think that the posturing is important, and I think that's where Abdul was coming from when he speaks from the heart. That how do we posture like it is okay? We have read some of these things, the late Honorable Chamber and his State of Blood book, graphic contents in there which I read over 20 years ago and told myself I don't think I will ever see.
Those words of never again.
But here we are.
Namfi, when these torture cases first came up, it was, very highlighted. It was with Kakwenza. He came and highlighted and all that. But because of his language and his tone and his vulgarity, maybe people did not take him seriously, yet he had been seriously tortured. We had his lawyer here.
In the names of now.
No, I'm not as bad as Kakwenza. Oscar, protect me. Who needs enemies? Who needs enemies?
So,
You see, the thing is that let's not act like this is a new thing that is happening. It's just that, let me thank you for bringing this up every week. And I know we are probably not saying anything new every week, but at least it stays in the media and it stays highlighted, and the spotlight needs to remain on this issue until these people are released. This is not new. This happened before. This happened during the time Besigye was protesting. This has been happening all through the NRM times, all the way from Luktankome Kaida, all the way from Nkwanga and people like that who went missing at the beginning of this regime. So it has just become...
Just for the record,
didn't it go missing? He was killed.
He was killed by the Lotwaz, not UNLA, not...
Okay. What I'm saying is, when certain regimes come into power, especially people who hold on to power for long or have intentions of holding on to power for long, one of their tactics is scare, intimidation, and sowing fear in the minds of the population. One of the reasons that you see this happening, the missing people, is to show others that you will go missing as well. And it's even in the manner that they do this. The drone comes, has no number plates, well-dressed men come out, snatch a person, and it's designed to send out a message to the people around that person that you stand up for anything, you will also be picked in that manner and no one will ever see you again. And because it strikes a chord with Ugandans, especially of the older generation, the parents of these missing people, the government hopes that then they will go back home and tell their next child, please don't do this. Please don't oppose the government, because you'll be taken as well, and look at what has happened to this brother. But why are we at this place where the government that spent 5 years in the bush killing people and telling those who are losing their loved ones that your loss is worth it, that when we get into power, we will do better. 40 years later, they're getting worse and worse. And like Kofono says, if you're being compared to the regime of Idi Amin, who for many years we thought would be the worst ruler of this country, then there is something incredibly wrong. Watching David Muhoozi even try to defend this, for me, I was so disappointed and ashamed of him, because he's one of the people who I hold to a higher standard. He's not Nabanja. He's not, what is that vice president's name? Alupo or Anita Mong. No. This is a person who has more sense than that lot. So he should do better. So for him... Kakweza wouldn't have put it nicely like me. I'm being nice.
Namfi, let's speak to people who are here.
I know. No. Of course, these are public figures we can use as examples. And there is a meme that says that you're not so useless. You could be used as a bad example, even when you're very bad. So we can't use them as bad examples. I mean, they're not useful to the country, so we could as well use them as bad examples. But Oscar, back to the point I'm making. There are certain people you hold to a higher standard. David Muhoozi coming and telling us there is 16% of Muslims in incarceration only, so that makes it okay. That a one Nabakoza who we tried to talk to then ran away and said NUP has not given her, that makes it okay? That a one who referred us to a one Michael who refused. You see, the reason why these people are even refusing to cooperate is that they will be the next to disappear. Because you haven't explained where the other person is. These are lay people who are looking out for themselves. And they will tell you most of the missing people actually were numbers found in the phones of the other missing person. And then they were picked up in a drone. So you haven't even given them reason. So you can't come and your defense is that they're next of kin. Oh, we cannot find their identity in NERA. This is, I won't use bad words. This is, you can't come and think that we are that foolish a nation for this to be your defense of the indefensible. So it's actually insulting to the Ugandans' intelligence. And David Mohozi needs to come and apologize to us. And I felt bad that Mpuga even had to go and defend that madness and his statement. He should have come and read the names. You know, actually earlier on, President Museveni handled it even better. He came, he read the names of the people and told us, these are the people who are missing, this is the person who is doing this is the one, and we are going to find them. That, for me, is a better way of handling. But, unfortunately, he didn't follow it up next week by bringing the ones that they have and show them to us. Because it's not enough for you to say that you're going to find them. The best that you're all making statements or coming and presenting. For me, I would have been more impressed if David Mohozi walked into Parliament with a couple of missing, like 6 of the 18, and told us, you see, there is this one here, there is this one here, there is this one here. Sit down there, get charged. Charge them. I don't care. For demonstration and to show goodwill, or hold a press conference and show us. Or
Parliament, is it a mortuary?
Thank you, Fono. Is it? No, it isn't. But when the situation calls for it, that is the best answer that you could give us. Show us these missing people. We don't want your statements. We don't want your rebuttals.
Okay.
Nancy, you're right. Without
yes.
bringing them to Parliament, they could just say this one is at this station, this one is at this prison.
Oh, actually, today we have technology is even much better.
Yeah.
Put them on a Zoom call, a video conferencing, and say, here are the people. They are detained here, and number one,
this one was charged on this day,
has been charged on this day with this and this. He can be found at Kitalia prison. Number 2 is Moses Biarohanga. He went missing in Kamwacha, was following a baby wine around town. We picked him up on the 3rd of June in a drone. But now he has been charged like that. That for me would go far enough to allay the fears of a country that is increasingly getting disillusioned by the government. Not that we had, especially the young people, have never had much faith in this government, but even the little that is there has been corroded.
Yeah.
Yes, apart from those who want to eat, who want a sack of rice, or 20,000 people to turn up at your celebrations, the rest of the country, no.
Okay, Moses, over to you. There's I should remind listeners that Moses Biarohanga is senior presidential advisor on matters political and more. So I'll attribute a speech that the president once read out and warning the security services. In that speech, I think you wrote the speech, and he was saying you do not even have to back at suspects. Yes, you said, why do you back at them? You handle them properly, arrest them, charge them. But clearly, the security services are not listening to him.
I do agree that with my colleagues in the studio, Fono Pondo, Honorable Katuntu, Abdu, to some extent, Malcolm, and to no extent, my young sister Nafka. See that the security services should do their work professionally. There's no doubt about it. And the reference you're making with the president was especially telling them that. In fact, another time he was even telling them, why do you torture a person in the first place? Because if you torture a person, and it goes to court, and it can be proven that you tortured a person, you even lose your good case because of the way you handled them. So it's wrong, and it was educative to the security services, that message, and the letter here. I think I've written about 2 letters to that extent. It all takes back as to the training in the police, especially in the police which is supposed to handle this type of cases, the type of training they get. I always urge you, when I meet people, especially from diplomatic services, I will tell them that, see, part of the challenge we have in our police is training. Somebody leaves the basic training maybe at Cavalier Police Training School, and the next thing you hear somebody is the DPC and say, but since you, from the first training, which other trainings have you undertaken to, there's supposed to be upgrading training to improve how to do certain things and so on and so forth. So we need to do a lot of training in the police. It's unfortunate about any person to go missing. I wouldn't want anybody to go missing. In respect to the report presented to Parliament by Minister General David Muhoozi, I don't know the workings of Parliament on this matter, because now Mpuga made a response, and I don't know whether it will go to the committee so that it is handled the case point by point, paragraph by paragraph. You are saying this, the other one is saying this, and you can come to prove. Otherwise, if you just leave it on the floor, you made a point, you put a presentation, I responded, and it just leaves like that, and it comes to voting. So I think it should be thorough, because in some of the cases, General Moses was saying, you said there is the Moses Sebalu went missing, but it is, we want to prove whether Moses Sebalu lives, whether he's there. So there are those accusations exists,
and they proved that he exists.
So no, that's why now we need it at the committee level to see this person exists or doesn't exist, because part of the accusations David was putting to the leader of the opposition was, you mentioned the people who are not there. Yes, if you read that report clearly. Now,
and then they give an example
and
of someone
is
who's
saying
there,
this person is there,
including
so
a NIN number, voter allocation.
That can be proved. In any case, the Minister of Internal Affairs is the custodian of all our NINs. So if somebody is saying you fail to get it, as the phone was saying, but here we have got it and we prove, then it can be seen. So I think this.
But Moses, the other way around is that the minister would have said straight away that this person does not exist. All the registers show he does not exist.
I think he said so in a maybe different way, but from when I read the report, the day it came out on Parliament, I think I posted it on our forum. I read it page by paragraph by paragraph until I completed. I didn't read the attachments, but I read the presentation by General Muhoozi, and he was so in some cases he was alluding that the people you mentioned are not, don't even exist. That's the accusation he put. So Mpuga is proving that some do exist. So that can be thoroughly examined and see who is telling a lie. If it is the government telling a lie, then it is told point blank that this is a lie, this person exists, and where is that person. So in summation, we need to the security services to improve on the way they handle cases. As Abud was saying, everybody should appear in court within the provided time frame. But sometimes, although the 48 hours, to some extent, you find security services, even when they want to do good, finding it difficult to present people before court within that time. But at least they should account. We are unable to present somebody within 48 hours, but this person is here.
Give us an example of such a situation where they would find it difficult to present someone within 48 hours.
They can.
Someone in their custody.
But
they can, especially in matters of terrorism. They are able.
Moses, hold on. We have 3 lawyers here. Nafi, we have 3 lawyers in the studio. Surely, can't court grant you more time? More than the 48 hours?
The point I'm raising, that somebody should appear before court.
Because you have them.
You can be remanded. You don't have to
should appear.
They have to show that you're there. That yes.
The point I'm making is that the point I'm making is that the security services should work within the law And I think we need more training of the security services to ensure that they don't breach the law. Everybody in this country is entitled to be treated within the law and within the constitution. Whether you're in opposition, whether you're in government, irrespective of the crime you have committed, everybody has to have equal access to the law.
I really appreciate Moses' point on training, but I work within civil society, and a lot of the work that many organizations do around governance and accountability supports police training, human rights training, and has done so for over 20 years. If a government 38 years later is still failing at the basics, like Ofono Opondo is putting it, at the basics, the very bare minimums for a rule of law. When I have conversations with the civil society, we ask ourselves, how much more training can we do? Is it that we are training batches that keep getting out, and therefore you have to train a fresh batch? But there are some similar faces that keep coming for these trainings.
Malcolm, you see, first of all, training can only be continuous.
Agreed.
You can't say we have trained enough.
The basics.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we are making a big mistake, Oscar. This issue is not so much prevalent within the police. Let us face the facts. It is other security agencies that are. We don't know whether it's but other security agencies are the ones who have been responsible for this. Really, the police sometimes, for example.
I wanted to rescue Moses because he was looking bad, talking about training. Even us in school, we change your course. Okay, we say now I think mathematics, you leave it alone. Then,
Oscar.
So I wanted to save you and ask you the next question.
So to me, this issue about police, it really the problem the challenge we are having
is not police.
Oscar. I was telling you, we don't have to hide this. Let's speak the truth.
Let me ask you the question. You add it on to your response.
Okay.
What if this situation escalates, Moses? Because we have seen these situations, and what if it escalates? Because all these officers are taking the law into their own hands, abducting people, meting out punishments. Where will it stop?
Well, it will stop. I think it has to stop. We are all concerned, and we shall all throw our weight to ensure that this stops. But I still want to emphasize when I mentioned training, look for instance at the army. There is a platoon commanders course, company commanders course, battalion commanders course, senior officers course, and so on and so forth. When you look at the sister institution in the police, apart from the basic training they get at Cavalier, it is only recently when they started this Webaja Training Institute. I know Malcolm is talking about these other trainings in human rights, how you handle human rights, but you see, for me, if you look, as I said, if you look at the sister way in the army, where it is done from from the basic training, platoon commanders, company commanders course, battalion commanders course, and so whichever you are going up, you are getting another training, and sometimes it takes like a year and so forth, which doesn't happen in the police. These are the one you're talking about human rights is like a refresher course. That is okay, but it's what is the basic training I'm talking about. That if you're going to be a DPC, the training you had, like now you're going to be a battalion commander in the army, the training you had as a company commander was below. You need another type because you're dealing with different type of situations. That's the training I'm talking about, and we need it. Suppose now you get a police person, somebody joining the police, finishes the Kawalia training school, the next thing you hear is a DPC somewhere, and say, but in between, what have you been doing all this time? Just we have been from one position to another, but without each office requires a certain responsibility, and we need to prepare for it.
But Moses, who takes responsibility for that?
So I said we need to do it as a government to do more training for the police. It's incumbent to make it professional. Like the army has been made professional. Not that they cannot make mistakes, even when they're professional, but even at least you expect that there are things I expect Cartoon to do and not to do. because of what I expect him, being a professional he is. There's things I don't think I know to do. But then somebody will do some mistake and say, that one, what did you expect? So, as my colleagues have already mentioned, every Ugandan is entitled
Moses,
to...
you are running away from the question.
Which question?
Both Abdu especially, and to a certain extent OO, have said this is not police. In fact, police's role, for example, like the person who was dumped at a police station, police should have asked that person to log in that arrest. So it is not police. For you, you are hiding in police.
Let me give an example.
I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding in police. I'm not hiding in police.
Most of these missing people haven't been reported to police. But the reason why they haven't been reported to police is because everyone knows it is not police who has them.
No, I'm not hiding. I'm not hiding about police. If police,
there's an expression of throwing you under the bus.
If police
so
is
throw
doing
police under the
doing
bus.
its work professionally, if somebody comes and dumps someone, you should reject them. You should reject them.
Yes.
Reject them.
And that requires training to give you comfort of mind.
Reject
to say
them.
no.
Let your minister raise it with a colleague minister and say this is happening in our case.
But what Oscar is saying is, instead of Moses shining the torch on the police, let him shine it on the actual culprit, the real people responsible. That way we'll have a better conversation than scapegoating. Because what he's doing right now is scapegoating.
No, I'm not scapegoating. The person who comes to dump you, at least somebody is coming. Who is that?
Okay, talk about SFC's role.
Who is that coming? From where is he coming?
No.
At least they can be traced. The one coming to dump somebody at the police station can be traced. And then each of these...
Not when they are complicit.
The police has a minister responsible internal affairs and the Minister of State for Internal Affairs. They can raise the matter in cabinet.
Yes. I agree with Moses on the issue of training for all security forces, because a police officer who has gone through all the necessary training should at the end of the day be able to say, yes, you're a colonel of UPDF, you are the one in the anti-terrorism outfit, but I'm not going to take in a suspect you have been holding illegally. That fear will get out. Should be able to say, yes, you're a colonel, but I'm not going to take. You have seen cases where somebody says a politician has ordered the arrest of a person in the constituency who doesn't support them, and they take them to a police station. Or actually an MP goes to a police station and demands a release of a suspect, building political pressure. And because the police officer is not trained, he will fear an MP and releases
without due diligence.
Without due process. Things like those require training. But I think, and actually a lot of abuses go on at police stations. Go to any police station, police post, particularly up country, and check in. I was an investigator with the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Go to any police station.
Which government was that?
It was the cover, according to
officer there.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. That's also okay. You will find in the police station people who are behind bars, and if you ask for the station diary, their names have not been logged. The offense hasn't been logged, but they are in the cells. Go to any police station and you see the crowd of relatives and friends outside the police station in haggling, negotiating with the police officer. So that one requires training, requires supervision. But in this particular case, I deal with the police, I deal with the intelligence, I deal with the military. Recently, about 3 weeks ago, there was that case, alleged robbery by police officers and armed officers of gold dealers along Bombo Wobulenzi Road. One young man is a freelance journalist in this town, was arrested by the joint security unit which was trailing those robbers. He was found at a petrol station in Nankulabi with one of the police suspects. And then he was taken to, I will not be shy because these things are recurring, he was taken to CMI in Mbuya. Eventually, the journalist came to me, one of their friends, and said, Mr. Fono, help us. One of our colleagues was arrested in connection with the gold robbery. And I said, so where is he? They said, we think he's at CMI. I called CMI and I said, I am looking for a person with this name. Can you find him for me? Because I deal with them, they actually quickly, I think under an hour, they called him back and said, yes, we have him, but he was arrested on mistaken identity, simply because he was found with one of the suspects. Yeah. And guess what? They said, give us up to tomorrow by midday, we shall have released him. Indeed, I said, midday, should I call you? They said, no, don't call us, but we shall release him. But anyway, at midday the following day, I called the CMI and said, no, we have already taken him to Kireka, police. Somebody arrested by CMI, they had acknowledged to me, but was taken, he said, to Kireka to be given bail. I followed with the Kireka. I called the person commanding there and said, yes, the person has been brought to me. I'm releasing him. I'm giving him bond on the charge sheet of aiding and abetting terrorism. Somebody arrested in connection with the bond.
Yes.
In connection with the bond.
This is true.
I have this young man's bond, a copy of his bond. Because when he was released, he came to me. I said, you photocopied, I have it. And he was released. The charge sheet is saying terrorism. I said, what kind of police is this now? Somebody is arrested in connection with gold robbery, but you are putting a charge of aiding.
So the training must include law.
Yes.
Actually, Oscar,
you can imagine, because
let's stop for a break.
So things like those, the police should not accept. Even the military, okay, if you arrest somebody, you can say mistaken identity. Yes. No.
Let's stop for a break. It is a story that has made us.
Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM. Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. In the break, Joseph Burite on Twitter, or X, formerly Twitter, says it is hard to believe even dare to make excuses for the police. They have become village lords who pay no attention to basic law, only choosing to take bribes and arrest. They can't even differentiate between civil and criminal matters. And he says a few more things that are unreadable. So
for me, I was saying, it is I would want to continue using the word clumsiness. Because even if Mpuga was to say, even if they were to be fictitious and say, you have killed somebody, the state has a responsibility and obligation and means to go to the village where that person is buried, exhume the body, conduct an examination whether this person was actually killed, by what means. And therefore, the state, the NRM government, has no excuse. We have no choice but to improve. And improving, we shall improve.
The next 30 years.
No.
But that you can have a senior government official speaking the way OO is doing. We have to commend him. I think they are trying to improve. That a government spokesperson is saying, look here, there is a problem here, and it has to be sorted out. To me, that is good development. But let me tell you one thing. You've just talked about the police officer. One time, I represented the message. He was dumped at Chida police station. And they gave him a bond. And offense, preventive arrest. That was the offense. Being charged of preventive arrest.
They arrested
Sir,
and then the offense was trying to vandalize.
Okay, you are my lawyer. What offense is this? Him as he could be. And then he burst out. I said, Doctor, entitled, they come and go. Stop, you've gotten your freedom.
They arrested this year. They arrested NUP kids, and the final offense was trying to trash the drone in which they were arrested. That was the offense.
After they had been arrested.
Yes. So the charge sheet had the offense vandalizing police. Yes.
So the final message on this one, John in Kampala says, I think the problem is attributable to the militarization of the police. Why does the president feel the need to militarize the police instead of giving the police the necessary resources, including the required training? It is the UPDF, SFC operatives attached to police who have such impunity. Spokesman of government, we saw army officers charged for plotting to overthrow government. These are things very unheard of in Uganda. What's happening?
No, you cannot prevent people from trying mischief. That's why we have.
You are really mischievous.
That's why you have intelligence services. The Abu Katuntus have tried many times to remove our government.
But
in Abudu's case, it tries by lawful means.
Yes.
Some people with him have tried through unlawful means. So you cannot prevent people, whether in the army or outside, or a combination of them, trying their luck. And for me, this shows that actually the state has a reasonable capability to detect and neutralize mischief before. So for me, that's not a really big issue. My issue would be, why today would somebody, a captain, this fellow is a captain, the one who was leading them?
Yes.
If you are in the army and you're a captain, you should reasonably know the capability of the army you serve. And that you try, but you can even see that the first is, I want to assume, if we go back to the previous discussion, I want to assume that the charges are accurate. They are not concocted.
Preventive arrest.
Because the charges are, the suspicion are that they had wanted to blow up the ordnance, the equipment in certain garrisons, so that they disable the capability of the army to respond in the case they were to stage a coup. It appears a kind of sophisticated thinking, but I don't think that this government, you can overthrow it by successfully blowing the tanks. What will you? How will you commandeer the communication, for instance, and so on? So I think they are really adventurous. In those people who are doing that, I think they are just adventurous. And good, they were nipped.
And no one died.
Moses, are you agreeing with OO? It's unbelievable for people to hold such thoughts.
Definitely. The way the army is structured, for anybody to think of overthrowing a government, making a coup, it's daydreaming. In fact, those people need to be examined at Utabuka, whether their heads are working properly. Because it's just daydreaming. They don't have much about it.
Namfi,
if Moses doesn't have much to say about it and is in government, honestly, I didn't understand them.
But
understand their
you see sometimes where these
they could have
things,
done better. Let me give them a better plot.
Go
a
to
better
the
plot
microphone.
line. Next time they're in the army and they want to overthrow government, they should secretly join NUP and work within the army to overthrow government. It's a much better plot than trying to blow up
Thanks.
tanks, and I don't even know what they're doing. But my suspicion is that it was some sort of mutiny of that particular battalion. What do they call it? That particular army battalion.
A captain commands a company.
A captain commands a company. And then,
But when you see the makeup of when you see the makeup of those arrested,
Yeah.
2 teachers, 2 pastors, builders, so
I don't know, Oscar. In the
That's why
coming
you see they're
days,
dead dreamers.
we will know more about them. I'm for the Butabika thing. If indeed they were trying to overthrow, maybe they need a mental evaluation. But the true story, you know, like you said, the composition, the pastor, the teacher, and then these police officers. I think there was something more sinister going down, and overthrow government is the quickest charge. Like we've seen, police will just throw charges all over the place to try and. I mean, it helps with them being court-martialed as opposed to taking them before the ordinary courts of law. And with the court-martial, government has more control there. So the charges may be informed by other reasons other than the truth of what actually happened. But in the coming days, we'll find out. I don't think there's much to say about it. It's just an unfortunate sounding event that we need to know more about than before we can even have a proper informative discussion and opinion about it. So for now, I reserve my opinion till we know what that pastor is doing there, and the teacher, and what they were thinking.
Malcolm, you see there's a problem, and Nafi kind of alludes to it, that sometimes we don't even believe the charges, and from the discussion, as O said earlier on, it can be a problem. And then in the old days, Abdul sometimes talks about them. People would walk around and say, you know, me, I'm a spy. You know, and the entire village would know that you're a
even
spy.
now, they still go around.
This
The
is
other
the
time I was
thing.
talking to an RDC who was telling me, oh, by the way, I'm also ISO.
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay.
okay, noted.
Some people even say, you know, I'm in the drone. I'm the one.
I was driving.
The only people who should not be known, the only people who should not be known are covert operatives. The reason in 1987-88 the NRM enacted the security statute, which created ISO and ESO, and make its top officers public. The DISO is public, the GISO is public, is to prevent previous abuses.
But even then, they're always public.
Previous abuses.
Well done, man.
And making them
The heads of these
public
organizations are
does not in any way, if you are trained, does not even in any way undermine your ability to gather and analyze threat assessment.
We go to Malcolm.
Like indeed you are doing
I was saying
Human
that-
Rights Commission.
I was going to say that to this day, O insists that he was an investigator with the Human Rights Commission, and we
Many things.
He's a coffee farmer now.
You're on microphone now.
yeah. I think that it's unfortunate that, but not surprising, that we find a certain group that is looking to do something about their situation, and I think rather than dismiss them when you read out the makeup, it's very easy to do so. I think that what the government should be doing is, on top of trying to prosecute, if at all those charges are actually valid. We all know it's very difficult to trust this government, especially when it's bringing up prison charges. Maybe they are not very political people, individuals, so maybe theirs might actually be legitimate. But while prosecute, I think it's important for the government to also question itself and try and see whether it is addressing the discontent that is out there. Because when you brush it aside as a failed attempt, you're not going back to understand what the crux is, I think they call themselves Uganda Lord's Salvation Army or something like that. I think from a societal perspective, how do we address whatever discontent is there that is bringing up situations like these to the point where they actually are armed and ready to commit this? I'll end with a statement from a book that I read, I first read over 20 years ago, but I've read twice since, by Francis Imbuga, Betrayal in the City, our legendary literary figure in Uganda, that when the madness of an entire nation grips a solitary mind, it is not enough to say that the man is mad. So I think we need to be thinking about what is there beyond the particular apparent madness and Butavika qualification of these particular individuals.
They're so random. Some are from
Abdul?
Actually, to me, I want to look at it from where Malcolm has ended. What is it today that can make somebody run amok or mad to do what these people were intending to do?
Because it sounds very unreasonable. Both as
what
O
is
and
it?
Moses
So
have
to me,
said.
I'm not going to dismiss that these are mad people. Whatever they are trying to do could be madness, but these are not mad people. So you need to go to the root. What is it that was causing them to do that? Maybe are they the last we are having? All of us really don't doubt the capacity of the UPDF. That we know. It's quite a strong force on the continent. That we know. Well trained and well armed. That you can get a junior officer to say he's leading a rebellion and intends to do a coup. There is something which we need to investigate more. That the action itself is madness. But is that officer mad? I am sure for those guys who are with them, interrogating them, they should be asking further questions, or including those who are not with them. They should be investigating what exactly is happening.
Has driven them. Do you remember the time Semoju was standing to be Speaker of Parliament, and when he came to the show, I asked him, what madness has befallen you? Because so this is what you're saying. You know, that you need to
but because
look into
everybody
what
knew
everyone knew.
Just today in Uganda, part of the freedom, you have seen somebody climbing on a military tank during election.
Forget about that humor. That's purely
you have seen today during the young people, or not just young people, civilians, wrestling a police officer down and trying to remove the gun from. So there are many things going on that we out
That's
of
a good point.
Yes.
The madness.
Yes.
There's a lot of madness going
the other day,
on. So we now have to examine
the other
what
day,
is this.
Yeah, the other day you saw the courage of civilian where there was a land dispute.
In Movendo, somewhere there.
I don't know where, slapping and removing the magazine from the army
officer.
band. Those kind of things appear out of the normal, like these ones. And we need to find out.
So
here.
to me, I think there's some element somewhere which has to be addressed. But having said that, even if you have to look at it at a more sophisticated level, I don't think military coup is a solution to our problems. I don't think so.
Wherever they've happened in recent times,
yeah.
the countries are terribly ailing.
Yes, and we've seen there are many, of course, one or two coups like the 1986 they succeeded, and they have been here for some time. And
that wasn't a coup.
Well, it was a coup.
What was it?
That's a coup.
It was an armed struggle.
Well, even this whatever who wanted to pull up equipment will say to you, it was a big struggle.
Normally a coup is people from within. The other one was a force coming from away within the country, but coming to force out those
First
who are in
of all,
power.
there was no government there. The electoral regime was not a government. You had everybody around, and
It was
so
the government with the Dr. Laro Tuno as the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Okay, let's leave all that out of this.
So
it was one of the stupidest things
So you're
brilliant
saying-
Olalotuno has ever done in his life. So to me, coups are not
How about
fashionable.
not
and I don't
standing up
think
to vote
countries
on
should
his-
be
for
looking
himself in the election?
towards having these so-called savers as coup makers. Really, that doesn't exist anymore. We need to sort out our problems democratically and really without resorting to guns, sort out the issues which could be affecting or challenges which could be affecting the country.
But is there a message now to others that this is not a line, this is not where you should go, or is it an escalation? Because people, like, or the examples is given where people handle police, it's usually when someone feels it's an unfair arrest, or many cases tackling land grabbers. So are these escalations, or because somehow they seem to get away with coming in to grab land and so on?
No, that's what I'm saying. We need to examine what is the problem. There's something really not correct happening, and it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed.
Addressed by who?
By government, by the country, by the country. For example, if you are talking about land grabbing, do we have land grabbing in the country? Yes, there is.
It's our topic.
Yeah. So what do we have to do? We have to address land grabbing. And I told you last time that the land crisis can only be the increase because the land as it is not increasing. The population and pressures on the land is increasing. So you are going to have a worse land crisis if we don't start handling this issue. What you are seeing is purely Kasiki. The real crisis is coming. Yeah? Just imagine 40 years today, what would be our population? And the land remains the same.
Particularly if the production means remain the same. You want to till land so as to eat and earn money.
Yes. But even housing. Because land is about production and housing. Yeah? So we need to have people who can sit on this desk and plan for this country 50, 100 years to come. So I expect, for example, if you are talking about people managing the land docket today, you need people who are thinking 100 years today. But if you are not having guys thinking 200 years today, with a population of 100 million or 200, I am telling you, we are in real trouble.
So Abdul, you have Abdul. Yes, you've just before we go for a break, you've been Norbert Mao has been saying this very same thing, and you've not supported him. When he comes out and says we need dialogue, we need to talk, we need.
Who doesn't? Okay, who doesn't need dialogue? I'm one of those guys who think our problems can be sorted out by talking to each other. It is not us against them. And once you have that attitude, you don't mean well for this country. That you are here fighting the other group. We are all Ugandans, and we need a better country tomorrow. So we have to talk. Whatever differences we have to talk. You don't have to kill each other. That's why I get mad for somebody who thinks that by killing somebody there, he will be in power.
So next week you could give him a call and say, how is this? How are you progressing on getting a dialogue on? Or was it just a dream?
No, but we talk often. I don't have to say next week. I can even call him this afternoon. In fact, I should, over other issues. So he's a Minister of Justice.
Let's stop for a break, and then after the break, we'll go to our third topic.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from a break. It was a noisy break, as you can imagine. But let's start with you, Malcolm, with COP28. Should I say welcome back from COP28?
It's Star Cafe. Thank you so much for the goodies. Malcolm is doing justice to them. So, Oscar, can you maybe ask Ofono to speak?
No.
As Malcolm finishes doing, but now Ofono has started. Star Cafe.
Yes,
You have done a good kalango for Star Cafe. The next one will be for Mega Yogurt.
Mega Yogurt.
But are you one of the 600 delegates that we sent to COP28? And what have you delivered?
Sadly, Oscar, I was not among the 600. I would have loved to be on that list because I've not been to the beautiful city of Dubai, and I would love to explore what is there, because I gather that many of the and several dollars as well, which as a taxpayer I am honored to have donated to the 600 that went, or nearly 600 as they say.
There are some countries that had more, and I'm sure Moses, who loves statistics, will bring that out.
Yeah, we're not the highest per capita. We didn't have the highest per capita representation, certainly, and I do not want to dwell on that. Partly also because I do not think that the numbers would be so much the issue than, for me, two things. One is that we are dealing with a government that has professed a certain level, a desire for a certain level of austerity. When the president tells his people, his grandchildren, that he wants to be raised into formidable citizens, to prepare to eat cassava because things are tight, but is comfortably getting supplementaries for A, B, C, and D, so that there is no cassava on his table. I think that gets you to question whether we needed 600 people there, whether we could afford to have 600 people there. Because let's be clear, all of those are being catered for by the government. Do we need 600 people to be able to negotiate a particular position, to have a seat at the table? Do we need to be at every single table? Government is sending 600 people. They sent already. 600. I know that they said there were maybe 375, not 600, but the numbers again is not the real issue. It is what levels of austerity are we practicing if we are claiming we don't have money for the more important things back home, but are happy to spend money. It almost takes us back to the New York saga and the UN and how many were there. Again, the numbers were not
led by who?
Yes, the numbers were not the issue. One is, are we walking the talk in terms of austerity that we are claiming that every Ugandan is supposed to be buckling their belt? And yet the government is not doing exactly that. The other bit for me, Oscar, is the quality that we are presenting of these 600 or so that went there. I'm not in doubt that many of them were actually technocrats, bureaucrats who are there to negotiate on behalf of this country and have a seat at the table, like they say. A very good number of them were politicians who and their cronies, for lack of a better word, who are there to represent the country in one way or another. I do not have as much faith in what will come out of there as to match the expenditure that has gone there.
Yeah.
We are, yes, becoming an oil-producing country, and therefore there is a lot of interest in climate change and what fossil fuels are doing in that regard. We are leading in the energy transition, and therefore this country certainly needs to be in those conversations. However, a lot of what happens out there doesn't get translated down here, because the decisions that are made here in this country are decisions that are increasingly doing one thing and one thing only. They are propagating the government, they are maintaining it in power, they are not necessarily, like Abdul said earlier, they are not necessarily looking to plan 50 years from now. I did inform you about my recent travels, Oscar, and I was having a conversation with a Ugandan gentleman who is living there, and one of the things that came up was how the plans at this time are 50, 100 years down the road. Things that we are in awe of in some of these countries are things they did 70 years ago, because they were planning for today at the time. if the 600 were going to deliver a promise of a better tomorrow for,
then you'd have better faith.
I'd have a lot more faith.
There was murmuring about the location of COP28 as well, and accusations that maybe the country was also making oil deals. So
I will leave that to Moses and then maybe or to be able to tell us. Definitely they
not from Uganda, but
yeah.
I mean those were accusations, right?
Definitely, even and not just from Uganda, but in terms of attendance, this was one of the most highly attended COP28. Yes, and that in itself maybe from the attraction of the venue of it itself. I think that Dubai has positioned itself. They I've read extensively about them, although I have not had the pleasure of visiting.
And they have a financial muscle to invite all these people.
But they are planning way ahead. With the idea that we are looking to do, and maybe that's what we're going to have conversations about, what it's like to plan several years ahead and be able to prepare for the citizens. Again, we shall see. I think the test will be,
good point,
of the pudding will be in the eating.
Abdul, COP28, but Malcolm finishes on an important point, and I know you love football. I mean, if FIFA says 2034. There's only sole candidate, Saudi Arabia. So it says they are planning ahead. But COP28, 600, did you go?
I did it. Maybe I'm not the one most qualified to talk about this because, as you know, I have a lot of foreign engagement and I therefore travel often. But let me say this. Sometimes, even when we are going to do good things, we do it badly. And you can see now the debate has shifted on how many people went and so on, blah blah. Yet people don't realize this planet Earth, Mother Planet Earth, is a time bomb. We're in real trouble as a universe. Real trouble. And if we don't address the issue of the environment, climate change, sustainability of this planet, we are in real trouble. What we are bequeathing, as I say, to our grandchildren is a time bomb. And the debate has shifted. The third world is the biggest victim. The main polluters are the developed countries. And if we can't make our voice listened to and say, you people, we are in real trouble, and how do you address this issue and demand as of right? I mean, we just waste time. Oscar. You are talking about droughts, rain is coming when they are not supposed to be raining, lakes. This is all about climate change. It is the biggest challenge the world has today. And if you have guys coming together and finding mitigating solution to this problem, then it is okay. And that's what the debate I want to have. And I got excited because, one, first of all, it is true there are many politicians who do nothing. That is true. But at the same time, look, the majority of the people who went are actually technical people. They are technical people, different sectors, who have really, what we would call, who are real stakeholders. Whether you're talking about health, you're talking about environment, even investments. These are real issues. And many of these countries, as you say, per capita, those who traveled, Uganda was not the highest and so on. But now, as usual, we are now discussing nyege.
Nyege brings money, Abdul. It's kind of different. COP28, did you go?
I didn't. But let me just clarify. 600 may appear to be a big number. But I think, but when you look at the list, because the list is available, you look at the list, you will see technical people are the majority.
Yes.
Now, in meetings like these, there are sideline meetings, bilaterals between countries. What can you help? How can you help Uganda? I want to believe majority of the technical people are in those kind of negotiations, things that will eventually help us. If you look at Honorable Katuntu here is talking of investment. Because we want jobs, you can see we are willing. As long as an investor comes, wherever they put there, whether they put it in a swamp, we have allowed that to pass for the last 20 or so years. We are beginning to work backwards now. What do we do? Recently, the president, for example, issued a moratorium on licensing investment in the swamps. And he promised relocation. Do we have that kind of money to relocate the people who are in the Busega, the people who are in the Namave, the people in different swamps? Do we have that kind of money? So this number may appear to be big. But also, many of the people who have gone, even when they are government, they are being supported by different donor funding. I'm part of the Red Plus under the Ministry of Water, and I know that there's a lot of donor money channeled. Many of these people have gone under that, either air ticket or per diem or accommodation and things like that. So a small group is the one funded directly by the government of Uganda. And so I think that's not a big issue. The real issue should be, what are they coming back with? When they come back, because this is not the first COP. We had the one in Glasgow. We had the one last year in Cairo. We are now having this one. Does it contribute towards a better, well-planned campaign? So that the people who bring emboli from Busoga, when they peel the emboli, they don't clog our drainage system. You, the Waganda, with you have a Kolokomba of Matoke and Indagala, because the majority of you still bring Indagala and the Kolokomba to Kampala. Even when you sleep, when you
What
live,
you have to look at in Africa?
these are the ones who eat Matoke and Okobobe. But when you eat, please don't throw your Ndagala in our drainage system, and you clog and you increase the cost. So for me, that should be the debate, not just the numbers.
Yeah. Value for money should be that. Namfi, do you know there's been a lot of rain in Musenene month, and the Nsenene are not here
for 2 minutes,
so
disappeared, came back.
So climate change is a big issue if we are even missing out on Nsenene.
Okay, Oscar, for disclosure, I'm not one of those people who thinks humans can do anything about it. About the clean environment, that I think we can agitate for a clean environment. For example, reduce waste and smoke and all. But for the long term, whether or not the Nsenene come, I will say I wouldn't want to align myself with Donald Trump on anything. But truthfully, if you look at the history of life and the world, I think it was in 608 AD, where apparently the whole there was a major climate event which extinguished majority of the world's population, and I don't think there were enough humans at the time to cause that catastrophe. And I'm saying even now, even if we did our best, and a comet comes from another planet, or it could destroy the whole Earth. And even if we did our best and made sacrifice. So I urge humans to be careful when we are making these sacrifices, especially us in the third world. Like someone pointed out, most of the culprits of these climate disasters are the first world, BP and Shell, BP, etc. And then in these conferences, they sit down and ask us in the third world to make as much sacrifices as they do. Is that fair? I don't think so. And these sacrifices are real. What you saw in the from 2008 onwards, the Gilets jaunes riots in France. France committed to climate change. In these conferences, we actually commit to certain climate change targets, and and changes that you need to make. For example, you sign up that in this year, fossil fuels, but I heard the head of this climate change, COP28, telling us fossil fuels have nothing to do with climate change, but that's another discussion. But I'm saying in Dubai, yeah, of course. So the language changes.
It's going to be another conversation. That should be the real conversation.
It is a real conversation, but it will not be the real conversation because you're shaking a table full of too much oxygen. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, we sign up for certain targets and certain commitments. And you've seen America struggle with these commitments. You've seen China struggle with climate commitment. And you saw even Trump trying to pull out of Paris, the Paris treaties that he signed. He pulled out. And you know the reason why they pulled out, they pull out of these commitments? When Macron tried to enforce the tax, the tax increases on what? On the fuel, to curb fuel emissions and consumptions. You saw what happened in France. It threatened his leadership. The Gilets Jaunes riots almost got him out of power. So these are real commitments that we sign up to and take up. And before you even commit to them, you have to ask yourself, are they worth it? And then you do a balance. I'm not entirely against us trying to have a clean environment because we have this only one Earth where we live. But I'm just saying that before we think of 220, 2,200, let's think of us today. And as Africans, when we go there, but Ofono here has just told me that the delegation is led from by Nabanja, so I give up. I don't think she will have any much pushback in case there is something that does not favor us.
There's so many technical people.
She's the Prime Minister.
No, I don't care if she has many technical people. Of Nabanja. What did she say?
Moses.
I will look at the BBC interview. So what I'm saying, Oscar, with climate change, I think there is a discussion that the world is not ready to have about climate change, and that discussion starts with, as humans, are we kidding ourselves, or did the ozone layer exist? Did we do anything?
Thank you.
All these changes that we are making, fossil fuels, today they are dangerous, tomorrow, because the powers that be have decided that they are dangerous. These conversations the conversations we need to have.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of kidding of ourselves.
Just 1 second before
Moses
Nafka gets on. She has been corrupted by her clients.
Yeah.
No.
She's been. I know people. And really, that's not fair to the world.
Yes. Moses, 3 questions to you. The first one, Nafi, your microphone is off. The first question to you, as a farmer, do you feel the first question to you, since your government is do we have value for money from sending such a delegation to COP28? Question 1. Question 2, as a farmer, do you feel the effects of climate change in Uganda? We had a long spell of dry season, and now we've had a lot of rain. And then question 3, you the people that advise the president, when the president issues, what do they call them, these letters on charcoal? Executive order, how effective and how do you implement that? Those are 3 questions to you. Let me get these seniors to listen to you.
The first question, you got it wrong. First of all, Ofono clarified to you, and when we started this discussion, I sent a message to the chief of protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Charles Sentongo, asking him about the delegation. And his answer is that COP is a combination of international organizations, civil society, and governments. So the delegations from each country came from all these sectors and government, not government alone. So don't think about the 600 or whatever were all sponsored by government. They came from civil society, they came from whatever. And those, if you ask, so it is Uganda, the country, not Uganda, the government.
A lot of that has been discussed on the table, so that's why I changed. That's why I changed my question to you, asking, are we getting good value?
Well, the good value, see, climate change is as Nafi was saying, although Abudu has a different view of her, that on what she said, it's an international obligation. and even the actors must all be together, because for instance now, when you have, they say when you have trees in Uganda, for instance, or in Africa, these trees are helping weed out or the carbon from the air. It doesn't matter where the carbon is coming from, and it doesn't matter where the trees are. But maybe Africa, you find that we are the ones who have more land where there are more trees than anywhere else in the world. So that's why our contribution is, can we maintain more trees? But shouldn't just maintain more trees for somebody to do more emissions?
Mm-hmm.
That's the discussion UNAF is talking about. Yes, we can do a lot for the world, and there has been there was this issue of saying paying off. Like if Ofono has carbon emissions, has 40 acres of trees, or even coffee, because it's a tree, it's absorbing something from the environment. If he has that, can he also be compensated for that? Because those who are contributing to the emissions, the meeting. So it's a big discussion.
You're saying Abdu should contribute to OO's trees because every time he's not on gang, he's on a plane somewhere.
Sure.
He should also stop moving on the plane. Should reduce his plane movement.
And then also the irony,
you're still on.
This climate, flying in on private jets is also another discussion that we need to have. Conservation is flying in on private jets.
As a farmer, of course there are things we are seeing. We need rain.
Yeah.
Farmers need rain, but it should be in certain quantities.
Unpredictable.
And well, yes, but the predictability is still there, because really our 2 seasons, the rain begins in around April, March for the first season, and around August, September for the second season. But like now it's December. For those who planted maize in August, it's be getting ready, and it's still raining. So it is no time for it to dry. So we don't know what will happen, because we might have good rains, but for the seasonal crops, we might have a challenge of harvesting them in good time, and that can also lead to like beans and maize and what. So there's a challenge for the perennial crops. Matoke, tree crops like fruits and fruits, coffee and so forth, they're doing so well. For us who are doing some cows, we're doing so well. For us who are doing some sugar cane, we are doing relatively well now. But the challenge is, if it rains longer, harvesting in the rainy season is for sugar cane is very, very challenging, in the sense that you get the cars get stuck in the gardens and so on and so forth.
Have you noticed that the price of food has gone up, especially matoke, sweet potatoes? Not that we don't have matoke, but the roads.
Wow. Bring them.
Getting them out is a challenge. But also, you see, Ofono there's the issue of the West, and accusing NAFCA of course it's matoke that they contribute to this West in the towns. That waste, yes, can also be utilized well.
Back in the garden.
Not only back in the garden, there's a company in Iganga, owned by the Danish, is producing organic fertilizer. And what are they using? They're using organic waste. In fact, I'm in touch with them to sell to them cow dung. In fact, the other day they were asking me, how much have you collected? I said, I've collected so far 8 tons of goat dung, and they're paying 200 shillings per kilo. So, as I'm showing the whole of Iganga, they have bought all the organic waste for us who are organized, and the Bugweri, where our comes from. So, this waste you see can also be useful for the environment. Instead of throwing it to the lake, like most of it ends up in Lake Victoria and so forth, and Kitezi would be good for collection and be taken to somebody who wants to use it for something else. Besides, it could also be used to produce biogas, which can be used for cooking.
Thank you,
as opposed to firewood. Doing very well. Very well.
Yeah. Moses, just a quick one on that executive order on charcoal. I mean, it would fit in very well with COP28.
It comes in very well, but the alternative is what is the alternative? That's why I'm saying you can use this waste for biogas. Because if Namfuka is eating matoka and so forth, the waste is getting from the pills and so forth can be used to produce, and a small biogas unit can go for about 2-3 million, which you have in your house to produce enough gas to cook for yourself.
Yeah. So as we end the show, I'll get Abdul to have final word looking at social media. You know, social media is can be deadly. Yes. So
social media.
On that, a fan of social media.
Yeah, but
Namfuka is not a fan; he's a part of it.
So social media. Before you look at yours,
Namfuka is not a fan of social media. She's a make of social media.
So, Abdul, before you get into that one, NUP is claiming by their SG Rubongoya on a post. How old is this post? From yesterday, 8 p.m. And he's saying RDC parades before media, a man claiming to be on a list of missing NUP supporters. So it's calling him Lukwago Martin. They probably presented Martin Lukwago. And then they present the Lukwago that they are looking for, and the one the RDC presented. And you have a wife saying, you know, they could have just asked me which Martin, and I'd have told them that's not the Martin. Social media can play havoc. Now there's that one.
No, it's really not playing havoc. That conversation is really sickening.
Yeah.
People, but because you see, we are running away from the real issues, and people are just now they are playing with people's lives, and that is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we so insensitive as a people, as a country? Why
to rush and present such information?
Yes, don't do this. Please, that particular RDC, it should save this country. Anyway, we go back to a little bit of fun here. Of course, serious fun. Anger in Namibia over Dubai COP28 trip by President's children.
So Namibia is saying, yes.
I have got a clarification.
Climate change.
I've got a clarification. Wait, listen.
Yeah.
I've got a clarification from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The government delegation was 50 people only, not 600. But Uganda had a big delegation.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not the issue. We have run away from the issue there. But monitor as usual.
As we are concluding the show, we shall also verify Moses' message, because we
Don't
talked
be a
about
social media.
No, I will not be a social media. I will verify. But thank you for our listeners on Capital Gang today. Betty Kamia IGG says, Oscar, please kindly tell people that some people have hacked into my phones and they're using them to extort money from public officers, telling them that IGG is about to investigate them. Tell everyone that the IGG does not request money from anyone, and please report the case if you know anything. Director CID Major Tom Magamba is
Mugambo.
Magambo, Major Tom Magambo.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, Mega Yogurt, for powering the gang.
The other week, a magistrate was arraigned before court, and a prosecutor, a state attorney. So the Inspector General of Government should know that some of our officers could be actually asking for bribes.
Wow. Thank you very much. I am Oscar Semoya Msoke, and I shall see you next week.